This is the 40-year celebration of the Israelite nation worldwide ministries.
Happy New Year. It is a big Happy New Year. Best time to live.
Earlscourt is... How many have been to Earlscourt? Yes. I think we need another tour of Earlscourt. So when I was asked to speak, I thought about one thing that all of us have in common, and that is faith. Because we didn't have all of this. We had none of this. We entered Earlscourt through a long, narrow driveway, and then you had to dip down, you had to step down, you had to bend your head down, and you entered into the basement of a 100-year-old house. Elder Shadrach had used his carpentry skills and whatever to try to prepare that space for the first congregation. So the people that were chosen to start this off had a spark of faith. We actually believed that we were starting something that would affect the entire world. And that's what's happened.
Amen.
How did we get that? I was speaking with Colin yesterday. There is only one thing that distinguishes us from everyone else, and that's a gift. That's the gift and the spirit of truth. Okay? Someone from my background, that's what distinguishes us. So we were given the spirit of truth, and we combined that with our faith, that we were part of a movement that was going to change this world. Earlscourt, the Constitution was written on a little typewriter in the basement. And I would look at Elder, and he would be telling me this, and I would be typing, and I thought, what is he seeing? And I believe one of the greatest miracles in that era was the Canadian government approving our non-profit status. We were just a few people in a basement. We didn't have all the equipment and all the stuff we have now. But I thought, this is something bigger than all of us, that the Canadian government would actually recognize us at that time and continues to do so today. So I am so grateful, and moving forward, take our example. We were a group of people who had so much faith in a God who we really didn't know. But the little we knew, we decided to take that step. So moving forward in your own life, there may come a time when you don't have all the answers. You don't have all that you need, but if you have that faith as mustard seed, move forward, because you don't know what your faith can produce.
Peace. I heard Christopher say that he's sending up the elders, but we don't look like elders. We're looking like 25-year-olds. Just so you know. That's right. Just had to throw that out there. And also, I have to throw another thing out there. So please forgive our garb, because we were performing and we did not expect to come up here, so our pretty clothes are hanging up waiting for us to put them on. You will see them soon. I'm not supposed to say So what can I say about Earlscourt? I want to keep this brief, short and sweet. There is no other place like Earlscourt upon the face of the earth. Amen. All the things that occurred at Earlscourt will probably never occur again. And it is very special and very unique, and it's really something to be treasured. There were a lot of, I don't know how to say it, there was just so many things that took place that you probably wouldn't believe today if we were to tell you, because you had to be there. And I'm grateful to have been there. And I'm grateful to be here now, because when we talk about faith, it does take faith. And I came into the nation, I was 19 years old, so do the math, if you know how old I am now. I'm 21, I'm just kidding. I'm not 52, I'm older than 52, son. But, I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I had to be there. I didn't know if it was right, if it was wrong. I just knew I had to be there. And there was just something pulling me that I could not resist. And even when I tried, I still couldn't resist. So I knew I had to be there. And I knew there was something more than what I was seeing, and that hopefully I would understand it in time. And here we are today. And I think we can all have a story like that, and we all have a similar story like that, because we don't know what calls us to become a child of Israel or part of the Israelite nation. We just have to listen to that call and have that faith and know that the God of Israel, he does choose his people. He will choose his people, and he will deselect his people as he sees fit. And that we should never ever worry about those things. Just worry about serving the God of Israel, doing what needs to be done to build the nation, and all the other stuff is noise. And you just block the noise. Thank you, Auntie Sharma. It's hard to block noise though, because it can be very loud. But we just block the noise, and you put on blinders for a minute, and you steer forward, and you move ahead. So from Earlscourt to now, I can definitely say that I am a testimony for the things that have occurred in Earlscourt and for the growth of this nation. I can stand here and say, yes, it did happen, and I don't care what anybody else says, because it happened, and that is why we're here today. Elder was chosen, Elder received the call, Elder was obedient, and Elder is the one that brought this truth to us. So regardless of what anybody else says or thinks, it doesn't matter, because the God of Israel chooses whom he pleases, and he will put whatever he wants, wherever he wants, whenever he wants, and it is our job to follow. So if he gave us a shepherd, we follow that shepherd so that we can serve the true and living God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. So with that, I say peace.
Happy New Year, everyone. So the first thought is everybody should stand up. First, everybody should stand up. Waiting for everyone just to stand up. And you have to give yourself a round of applause for making it to 40 years in this nation. You have to. That is, if you have a goal, let's just say that was the first part of it, because really it is. We came into this nation, and I could tell a bit about my story, which I'm not going to go too much into it because I could feel it already. But you can't explain what this nation is. You can't really explain. It doesn't matter what you tell anyone on the outside. It's just, it's like it's your private gift. And you got to hold it close. And you got to protect it with everything, because it could be gone like this. And when you're on the outside, no one could tell you that you've left, because you really believe that you're still in. And it's a hard thing. It really is a hard thing. For me, I came into this nation, and I'm not gonna lie, I did not come into this nation because I wanted to come into the nation. I came into this nation because somebody said, if you don't go to the nation, we're done. And he did not mean that we're done. He blocked me from his mom's phone, the home phone, the cell phone, the pay. Everything. I could not get in touch with this man. And up till this day, I don't know how we got back in touch with each other, because he really did block me from everything, because he said he's found the truth and I had to be here or that's it. And he put the words into action, because I still didn't believe it. I still went out in front of him, and I was still eating the shrimp, and I was doing certain... Yes, I was bold, because he came home and he wrote all these things on the wall, and he's telling me I got to do this and I got to do that, and I'm like, oh no, I'm Jamaican. It is not happening. So he put the action into the plan, and I came into this nation. And the reason why I came into this nation, because he said I had to seek help. Because growing up, I was very sickly. Growing up, I wasn't in a home, let's just say mom and dad. I grew up in a group home also. So there was a lot of reason for me coming to this nation. I could say this is my first family. It really is. Thank you to our elder, because from the first day I came into this nation, I was introduced to him as the girlfriend, and then he said, no, you are the wife. Yay, yay to me. So that switched up, and that's day one. Day one. Listened. We never went back even on that we are husband and wife. We didn't rebuttal it, even though we didn't understand it, but elder said that's what it is, and that's what it was. So from day one, it really is about listening. It really is about following instructions. It really is about focusing on your seats. And everybody always say, focus on the God of Israel. The God of Israel brought you in here because he wanted a family. Focus on the family within. It's not just about the God of Israel. If it was just about him, there's no need for us. But it's the unit. It's what we do together. Thank you to our elder, because over and over, 40 years, it wasn't easy. 40 years of blood, sweat, tears, 40 years of feast, 40 years of services, 40 years of dedication, 40 years of hard work, I'm telling you, 40 years is not easy even in your everyday life outside the nation. But imagine that the same person that I came in, I found the truth through this one person, inside or outside, they all came through one door. We didn't have many doors. Same thing with scriptures. One family, one door, one baptism. If you're in or out is the same thing. One baptism. If you focus on that, and you focus on where you got baptized, where you learned the truth, where you had your feast, your entire album is Israel. Truly it is. Your entire album is Israel. So thank you. Thank you to the Supreme Council. Thank you to the brethren. I'm also going to thank myself for the listening skills. I am, because like we said, it's not all easy, but you have to really hold on to each other. That's how you make it through. And if you hear something that is just, sometimes you got to take 2 steps back and, go a different direction. Just the same way you make a wrong turn. You reverse and you take another path, but make sure the path is still within. So thank you to the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob for giving me a home, for spirit, recognizing spirit, and he recognized something within me to keep me here, to bring me here. I don't know what it is, but I don't need to find out. All I need to know is I'm supposed to be here, and that's it. Peace.
Wow. I don't even know where to start. I don't. You know what? I start from the beginning. And my beginning was meeting Jaleesa when I think she was just 6 months old. And she was actually crawling, I think, because Freddie had her going, and he said, fix a clip in her head, and I said, I'm not fixing a clip in her head. And, because you're young and you're struggling. So I based my timeline off of Jaleesa. But I do know that my first feast in Israel was Passover 1991. And those days, you would use white flour and water. That's how you knew you were really dedicated. Because if anybody has ever used white flour and water, it's the worst thing on earth. And if you ate that and kept your Passover, that's why I'm still here. Because I had white flour and water. Right? So in my formative years, I always say that I come out of my camp was a camp of pre-sandal. Because I got drafted, everyone knows the story, I won't talk about how I cried and tried to freeze my brain, but I got drafted into the play called Ruth. And I was in culture. And in those days, culture, Pre-Sandal used to come with a shotgun to his meetings. And if you weren't up to par and had everything, you were getting bullets, literal bullets, because he ingrained it in me that if you can't come to the platform, putting your own bullets into your stuff, you can't bring it to him, because then he's gonna shoot bullets in it, because he can't bring it to council. So you have to make sure that even from your level, what you're doing is almost perfect. And that was always ingrained in me. My first teacher was Elder Michael. I met Elder when Elder and Elder Castrilli were coming to Shoreham, because he had just finished writing, I think it was A Truth, a Lie in the Bible. And so those are my humble beginnings. Elder Lane had it completely right. There's ups, there's downs, there's ins, there's out, there's trauma, there's upliftment, there's excitement, there's sadness, there's such a range of emotions that you go through. I don't know if anyone has ever experienced that you're at work and they have a situation and you're like, that's it? That's it? Because we go through so much and we learn, and our lives are just, it's the scriptures, it's the culture, it's our way of life, it's everything. I don't really talk much to people on the outside what I do, but when I do, it's that in-depth conversation, because I need to know that your ears are at least willing to hear what I have to say, because I'm not about arguing. I'm not about debating. I'm not about trying to prove what I'm doing is right. I just need for you to know that this is who I am and respect me. I have no problems respecting you and what you're doing. My time in Israel has been it's been a journey. It really has been a journey. Sorry, I'm supposed to say I admire people like, I always say nobody has faith like Sharma. Sharma has the gift of faith. I don't even know. But Sharma has the gift of faith. I tell her all the time, like, she'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna have 10 houses, but you don't even, doesn't matter, it's gonna happen. And it happened. Like, she has the gift of faith. Sophie's right. You don't have to tell Sophie nothing half a time. She hears it, done. My ears are not always as open. That's so. I'm working on it. But we're still here. All right? We complement each other. We balance. You know, we all go through our times. You know, there was nothing like, you really know, everybody, you're on your high, and everybody's there, and everybody has their hands up, and everything is great. But when you hit those rocks, you know, there's few things in my life that I'll never forget when I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And I felt like every woman in the world, but every woman in my world showed up to pray for me, to pray with me, to pray on behalf of me, to pray for me, to pray beside me, just so that the God of Israel hears and has a hand in healing me. And that was 2011, and we're approaching on 2025. So I'm eternally grateful. Everybody's had a hand in raising my children, Dwayne included. Everyone's had a hand. And, you know, especially Danielle. She's so headstrong for this nation. It doesn't matter. I can go out building groves. I can go out building a path. Daniel's gonna be like, yeah, okay. That's you. I'm giving you one chance to come and fix up, but that's Danielle. She's so dedicated. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Because I don't want to get into tears, but I love and appreciate her for who she is and what she means in my life and keeping me on, like I feel like I'm the child. She keeps me on the straight and narrow, I'm telling you. Like if I want the honest truth about something, so, no, that's dumb. Okay. She's, you know, and I appreciate and I love her. She's the absolute best. She's the absolute best, the best thing I've ever done. My 2 children, but Danielle, she's the absolute best thing I've ever done. Okay, you can come up here for all of this. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. My counsel, thank you. Each and every one of you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Peace.
This is the 40-year celebration of the Israelite nation worldwide ministries.
In the springtime, everything comes to life. The birds and the bees, the flower and the trees now, the animals away from hibernation.
Peace, brethren. Peace, peace, peace. Peace. And welcome to everybody who is celebrating this season with us, man. This is a good time, honestly. Like, I don't think I've felt... I feel something in the air, honestly, truly. I feel so good right now, especially this time of year, this celebration, this anniversary that we have for the 40 years. This doesn't come around all the time. This is the first time this is coming around, this 40-year reflection.
The first 40 years, 100%.
The first 40 from the very first teaching. You know, I always thought, you know, when we was talking about it, I thought it was the Constitution, but it's from the very first teaching, from when Elder Shadrach talk to Elder Castrilli in his backyard.
It was the first shout out, you know, the first time the trumpets had been sounded, and you know, there was an opportunity to actually hear about just great revelation, which is the truth and understanding of this book, the Bible. And I want to keep on placing emphasis on the Bible because to me, Chris, Bible means, you know, basic instructions before leaving Earth.
You just made that up? Yo, actually, this is legit the first time I've ever heard that. That's good though.
Because it really is the blueprint. It's not a coincidence. You can always hear me say it's not a coincidence that this is the #1 book in the world.
Right.
You know, everyone has a copy of the Bible. You're going to find it everywhere. You're going to find it in your hospitals. The government has it. It's going to be in the bedroom nightstand, in the hotel that you're staying at, probably even in the motel. You know, the Americans have it, the Canadians have it, the Chinese have it. Everyone has it. You know what I'm saying? But who understands it? You get what I'm saying? And that's what we're celebrating here at the end, or coming into this 40th year, you know, is the understanding of this great book. And not only that, but deriving, you know, the substance, or this, you know, the sustenance, not substance, sustenance, for what we get here, because it really feeds the soul. You know, it feeds the soul. It's a new year, and you know, we just want to take some time to appreciate that stuff.
You know, you really got my gears turning, man. You really got my gears turning just now, because you really put it to me when you were explaining how. This same book, and it's a manual, right? What's the acronym that you use?
Basic instructions before leaving Earth.
Bible. Leaving Earth, right? Go ahead and you trademark that, because we need to start capitalizing on it, because that's pretty good. But it got my gears turning as far as, because it all realigns as far as the theme for this time of the year and the theme for this season. And I think about the history of this book. And I think about the history of how this book even came into fruition. So even if you look at the prophecy, if you read Deuteronomy 28, verse 68, and it says that you will be brought into a land that your forefathers didn't know, and you will be a bondman and bondwoman again.
And irons of yoke.
And irons of yoke around your neck. You could be brought to this new Egypt. And it's like, you look at the history even with that, and we couldn't read or write. Ignorant. You understand? Like, we were ignorant. We couldn't even
by design.
Right.
And I just want to chime in there, because I'm so glad you brought this up. We don't talk enough about this history. It's always pushed underneath the bed. No one wants to, you know, actually take a deep dive on what actually happened to us as a people. Like the beginning, not just physical slavery, but the addition of mental slavery too, because it still lingers till this day. The mindset, the culture, etc. And then just being brought into a land that we did not know with yokes of iron around our neck, in the belly of ships, packed up like sardines, you know, degraded of our humanity, to a and this is all funded by the powers that be, or those dominating religious figures, whether it be, you know, whether you be a Catholic, whether you be a Muslim, whether you be whatever you were, like they all had a hand, you know,
Jewish.
Exactly, like they all had a hand in those things, and until today they're preaching, you know, world peace and love. But where was the love before? Where was the love in 1619 when we're being brought over here and packed like sardines? Where was the humanity? Why is it that it took, you know, 400 years just to realize, you know, basic human decency? You know, like all these things. I don't want to go too much into a rant into that, but you really think about that. It took 400 years to get to a place where you want to be considerate of other people. You know, Elder Michael calls this an inferiority complex, where you have to treat someone so bad just to make yourself feel better about yourself, you know?
But you know, everything is for a reason, you know, everything,
and
even our enslavement, and the reason why we're even here in this country, like, it all happens for a reason, and everything.
It's a lot to think about, isn't it?
Like with the seasons, you have winter, you have summer, you have spring, and then you have the fall, and then that cycle of, even in wintertime, we call it the season of darkness or the season of death. But it's something that is not put away. It's something that's reoccurring every single year. Like, that season has to come in order for the other seasons to follow behind it. Because everything has its place, and everything must be considered, and everything it's so beautifully crafted. If you really was to step back and to look, you'll see how, like, genuinely beautiful it is. And even going back to our story of how we even came into this country, how we came into this new Egypt, and we couldn't read, but we were singing about Moses, we were singing about Joshua, but you know, they
ingrained in our DNA.
Yeah, and then you look and you see how they had the slave Bible just to reinforce that oppression that they're trying to instill in the people. But the irony is like that same book that they're using to enslave you is that same book that is going to liberate you, right? And I just think that's just such an interesting concept. Us coming here, knowing that language that we learned in Africa, or that we're travelers. This is what I know about our history. We're travelers. We're like nomads. We're all over the place. We were here. We wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. We went to Egypt. We've been to Babylon. We've been to so many different places. And now that we're here and we're speaking this language, the irony that the thing that's gonna liberate us, like I feel like we've been like. In our whole history, this is the most far removed we've been from our culture as far as understanding who we are and our identity. Even in the old days in Egypt, they was able to call into the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob because they knew who they were. Yeah. But now it's just like you don't know who you are. But the irony is that it was translated. Everything that the prophets and your forefathers and all these stories and these lessons, it was all translated and waiting for you before you even got here.
Yeah, I want to hop in there because like you know we said a lot right now. I'll admit it. We said a lot just now. I said a whole bunch.
I need some water, man.
That would have been a good idea.
I know. We should have put some water in there, man.
It's all good. It's all good. We're professionals, so we'll figure it out. But the point being is this, you know, even hearing what I just said, what Chris just said, it all culminates into something very simple, Chris. It culminates into something very simple. It's to know and understand the past, but at the same time here, shape and direct the future. You know the past, shape the future, which is partially why we're having this conversation. We're sending out this message, and we're excited to be here today because like we mentioned before, this is 40 years have gone by since our elder Shadrach, master teacher, the messenger of the covenant, sat down and actually began teaching and sharing the truth. The Bible says buy the truth and sell it not, because it's so valuable. It's so valuable, and again, everything we just said just now perfectly speaks to that, knowing and understanding the past, but shaping the future. Right. So what do you want to see? What do you want to do in the next 40 years? This is a new year right now. So what do you see yourself doing in this new year? How are we turning over a new leaf? How are you turning over a new leaf? It's like, I know we've all had our differences, our different past, our different unique backgrounds. We all come from a different walk of life, but in this moment, while as we celebrate this new year, like what are we doing to make a change? How are we stepping in? How are we preparing for that? And I love the word preparation, because preparation is a huge talking point. I know I can already see in your eyes. You about to go on a long tangent just now, but no, preparation. How are we preparing for this? It's the end of 40 years. Things are changing. The air feels different, like you said before, isn't it? How are we preparing for this? Chris, how are you preparing for this, man?
We have like weekly discussions where we, throw questions out there, to get engagement, just to kind of pick and see where people's brains are at as far as their thought process. And right now, everything is seasonal, right? We want to stay in the theme of, because I love that word season, because there's so many things inside of a season. When we talk about the New Year season, that's including the Passover, that's including a time of feasting where everybody from all these different
It's the month of Abib.
The month of Abib.
Well, what does it say in Exodus 12? What does it say?
In Exodus, you want to go there?
Yeah, let's just go there. Like,
let's go there.
Just so that you guys know, like, we're not just,
let's go there.
We're pulling it out the manual.
But before we get, let me finish my thought, because right now we're talking about preparation, ironically. Yeah. And it's about, what do you do to prepare for the Passover season, or this season in general? Because even if you look at it from like a what's the word I'm looking for? Agricultural standpoint, you have to prepare to reap what you've sown for the year, right? And again, going throughout the seasons, there's a time to reap, there's a time to sow, there's a time to plant, and there's a time to, you understand? Even when you look at things like wildfires and stuff like that, there's a time for destruction, because you'll see the year after that place that was burnt up and destroyed, that's the greenest spot in that area. But it's like it had to go through that season, that refinement season. And I think it's beautiful, like when we talk about 40 years.
It's funny that you say that because that's artificially done, purposefully, because when you burn down the forest, it's like a phoenix. It comes back up even stronger.
Right.
There's a lot of nutrition there and everything. But yeah, back to your point.
Right. Let's go to Exodus 6, man, because the season 12. And I think it's beautiful because the new year, and I think everything that we can really appreciate in this season is a gift for all of us. It's been given unto us. And I think when we get into Exodus 2, we'll see how it's something that we didn't come up with ourselves. It's something that is just like, yo, this is the, and the thing that I love about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is he don't hold back as far as the blessings go.
He's very intentional.
He's very intentional. He gives the best of the best. So this time of year, he went and gave it to you. He gave you the best of the best time to celebrate the new year.
What does it say? It says, so Exodus chapter 12, verse 2. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. And I said intentional before, but like, it's not telling to the world, number one. It's telling it to a particular set of people, and it's very specific. Unto you, Israel. I like that because it's like everyone wants to always include themselves in the things that they don't belong in, It's like having a conversation. It's A and B, but then C wants to come in instead of seeing themselves out of it. It's like, it's very interesting how he was so specific. Unto you, this will be the beginning of all months, in the month of Abib. And then in that same month, we have a lot going on.
So much going on. My plate is full. Everybody's plate is full right now, figuratively and physically. The plates are full, but it's good to put your hands to work. And I think that's going even to the original question that we asked about how do we prepare for this time of the year. It's like really putting your hands to get some work done, honestly and truly. It's like when you physically are in that mode and you in the grind mode, like everything follows behind that spirit that is moving that flesh. You understand? When you're putting your hands in, even if you feel like you're tired and you feel like, oh man, I gotta go ahead and do this. I gotta go prepare the lamb. I gotta get the unleavened bread. I gotta do all of this. I gotta get my tickets. Like it's a hectic time for it. It's every single year. It's the same thing. Yeah. It's a hectic time. People gotta go and travel and all these things. But it's like the things that is worth having is the things where you can look back and just be like, man, we put in a lot of work, but look at this. Look, we get to sit down and we get to really enjoy this time. 100%. And this is like, yo, I don't regret it at all. And I think that's the beautiful part about it.
Sweat equity, man. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. You prepared. Goes back to preparation. If you don't prepare, or if you're not, what's that saying? Prepare to plan. No. If you don't plan, you prepare to fail. Yes. If you don't plan, if you're not preparing, then you're planning to fail. If you fail to, oh my God, no, the words slipped my mind. They don't come to me, but when it comes to me, I'll let you lot know. But the point is, preparation is key. And if you're not doing it, then yeah, like you said, you're preparing to fail. And you know what? It's just I like how it all just comes together. Intentionality is the manner of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Preparation, things make sense. The seasons, the commandments, it all comes together in harmony. 100%. It all comes together in harmony. We're gonna skip past and go all the way to same chapter and go to verse 26. Listen to this, yeah. And it shall come to pass when you children shall say unto you, what mean ye by this service? That ye shall say, it is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, who passed over the house of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses. And the people bowed the head and worshipped. And I wanted to touch on that because in this world today, Chris, there are so many different festivities and festivals and holidays that people acknowledge and celebrate. But I challenge even you out there, when you ask them the question, why do you do what you do? 100% of the time, they don't know why. No. They don't know where it comes from. They don't know why they do, Christmas. They don't know why they do Valentine's Day. They don't know why they do Easter. They don't know why they do St. Patrick's Day. They don't know why they do Mother's Day, etc. They do a lot of things, but they don't know where it comes from. I told you the Bible is the blueprint to life. And even the blueprint lets you know why you do what you do. And they claim to be following the blueprint.
So why did they do what they do?
That's a great question. Why do they do what they do? And why is it not in the blueprint? Have you seen Christmas in here?
No, I haven't.
Have you seen Saturnalia in here?
No, I haven't. I don't believe so.
I have.
Have you?
I've seen it in Jeremiah 10. It tells me it's the way of the heathens. But,
right. If we're talking about traditions, I have not seen it. If we're talking about, listen, our history is not a pretty, it's not like a beautiful fairy tale or a Disney movie. Like, it's very raw and it's uncut and it's real. And it's showing you, look, this is what happens when you don't understand where your power is coming from, for the most part. And when we're talking about the Passover and the season, like I want to bring it all back, like this season of the Passover, and then we look and we read how the new year and how this year and everything that is within this year and this season, this was given unto you. And you already know my motto: I give the best for my children. Like, look what I did. Look how I've made such a display for my children and destroyed a whole entire nation. Toppled the whole entire nation and declared war. Like, this is not, like, the Passover is not just a tradition. It's a testimony.
It's a testimony.
It's a testimony to
the greatness of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, if anything.
That war memorial that happened. That in my brain right now, it's just like everything is war right now. Like, I see everything as war, and it's just like little, like this, like when you think of war, like, mind you, the first thing that comes to people's heads is probably like bloodshed and all that type of stuff. But for me,
I think preparation, huh?
I think preparation. I think of psychological warfare. There's a lot of different elements to warfare that is very much vital in order for you to be victorious.
It came to me. If you fail to plan, then you're planning to fail.
I swear I said that.
Nah, you missed the fail part, I think.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
But and that's a part of war, Like a good warlord plans out the battle. They put the strategy in place. They let you know what we're gonna use, what's the battleground gonna be, who the enemy is. They send in spies ahead of time to go surveil the people and how they're gonna win and bring home the battle. And it's a very intentional, but a preparating process where you prepare for victory. If you don't prepare, then you're gonna get slaughtered. You're gonna get slaughtered easily.
100%.
Preparation is key. And the Passover is a declaration of war. It's like, yo, you harm my children, it's war. I'm coming in hot. I'm coming in for all the gods of Egypt, not just the people. Think about that. He's coming for the source. How, like, picture man looking up to God, right? Picture the Egyptian man looking up to God, but you see the God of Israel just kill off all the Egyptian gods. Like, that must be that's very hurtful psychologically. Like, to see your God fall to the floor, then you're falling to the floor with your God. It's just
that's tough.
It's a terrible process. So not only are you having mental problems, you're having physical problems too.
Yeah, and the God of Israel is the greatest example, because we talk about preparation, and you can see how everything was prepared even before Moses. Everything was prepared from a long time. But you even see how there's no coincidences, even how the story is laid out. You have Moses, and he went and he found this burning bush, and the God of Israel already had the plan laid out, and he told him from A to B, this is how it's going to go down. Right? He told him from A to B, this is what's going to happen. He's going to do this, this, and this. I'm going to harden his heart, but it's all right. That's part of the plan. Right? That's part of the plan. I'm going to harden his heart. And no, don't even worry. and you can imagine, like, Moses, like, what that does to him. And then he's hearing what the Lord is saying, and then he's going into the situation, and he's seeing it come into fruition. And then you see how even Moses as a man, you read throughout that story, in the beginning he was timid, he needed his brother Aaron to speak for him, and then it got to a point where Moses is up there talking, and he's just like, listen, man, you don't even understand who you're dealing with, right? And it's just like that morale for an army. Again, when we talk about warfare, psychological warfare, the morale of the people, like, where's the heart of the people? Like, I have to rally up the people. And it's like this time of year, and we're looking at the Passover as a testimony to remember the journey that we went on. Like, we need to be able to get that same fire that was there that liberated us.
Yep.
That the Lord, when it ignited within our spirits, within our soul, like, that needs to be an ignition every single year. That's like the definition of what a statute is. Like, every year, this is what happened. Like, there's a reason why we all come to the altar and we bring ourselves where the Lord is presenting himself.
I like this flow right now. I'm feeling the heat, man. I'm feeling it. Super hot fire, man. Listen, because I'm gonna go over to the scripture because I feel like it's just a perfect flow in Deuteronomy chapter 8.
Okay,
we're
bet.
gonna take it slow because you're touching on a lot of the things it's about to touch on just
And
now.
I think this is a real appropriate even for the 40 years, even tying into our 40 years.
I'm gonna read the first two verses though. Let's read the first two verses.
I bet.
All the commandments which I command thee this day shall ye observe to do, that ye may live and multiply, and go in and possess the land which the Lord sware unto your fathers. And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, which thou wouldest keep his commandment or not. Take that in for a second there, to prove thee, to humble thee, to prove thee, whether you would keep the commandment or not. In those 40 years, I know 40 years is a grand scale of things, but if you we'll touch on the 40 years, but if you boil it down to a single year, we all face our trials and tribulations within a year. Everyone does, no one goes without, it rains on everyone's house. There's no house that goes without rain. You get me? But it's like in those times of challenges and tribulations, like, what did you do? Like, just think back to those times where you do face those challenges. Like, what have you done? Did you turn and lean on your own understanding, or did you lean on the understanding of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? Did you go into the blueprint, into the manual, and see who else has faced your challenges and learn off of their example?
Like, what is the formula? Like, to be able to respect the process, you got to know the process. You got to know the process of, and it's funny that we're even speaking about humility. Even there's so much
To be humble.
And thou shalt remember all the way which the Lord thy God led thee 40 years. You're gonna remember. That's like, and look, the God of Israel doesn't change. So he's speaking right now and he's saying you're going to remember. He's always talking about remember. Like, go back and remember what happened, because you tend to forget. And it's easy to forget too. I be forgetting. I don't even remember what I ate this morning. You understand? It's easy to forget. But it's like he's telling you to remember. Remember what I did for the 40 years in the wilderness. To humble. This is why. To humble thee and to prove thee.
I like that. I want to go there real quick. To humble and to prove.
Yes.
Because to prove yourself, I said in the lesson before, judgment is a confession of character. You have to prove to yourself, like, who are you as a person? Your actions are the best reflection of your beliefs. Remember that your actions are the best reflections of your belief. No matter what you say, no matter how you feel, no matter what words you use to justify what kind of life you live, your actions will always tell you who you are at the core of your being. Remember this, because where the heart is, the feet does not hesitate to go. And if you really believe in the God that you serve, and if you really believe that he's going to lead you down to the riverside, he's going to lead you down to the path of righteousness, then you would follow in his ways. You get what I'm saying? You want to lean on your understanding, but you will lean on his understanding. When he says to seek the Lord diligently, you go to the book of Hebrews 11. He loves those that seek him diligently. Will you be that person that he loves, that seeks him diligently? Because when you seek him, it's just a reaffirmation of what you believe. You believe that he can lead you out of whatever trial and tribulations that you might be facing. You believe that he is your solution. You get me? And yeah, prove thyself. Prove yourself. What's in your heart?
Like, who are you? Like, that's a tall, like, to ask somebody, because essentially, because even at that last scripture, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandment or no. The commandment, to keep his command, to hear what I'm telling you, and for you to do what I do. Like, I'm asking for loyalty. Like, loyalty is I had this conversation with somebody not too long ago, but loyalty is a tall glass. That's a tall order to ask from somebody. To be loyal, to be the same person that you say that you are when I'm not around. And then when we're talking of things of the heart and the things of, like, who you really truly are, like, not who you pretend to be, not because we all when we're meeting new people, when we're meeting, like we have like we're
persona.
putting, you have a persona, like
Yeah.
where you're trying to present the best part about the best parts of yourself, the parts that you want people to, remember you by. If you're making a first impression, you want to leave a good first impression, right?
Yeah.
But it's like only you know in your heart. Like I can't even see your heart, but it's like you can feel your own heart. I can't. Nobody else can't but you. And I think that's an interesting, like that's what it is physically. And there's like a philosophy there. Like the heart is with you. You understand? And only you can feel the heart. And only you know who you are when nobody else is watching. And it's like to follow the commandments, like we can go ahead and say that I'm following the commandments, but are you really truly?
Do your actions say it?
Right. Does your actions say that?
And that says a lot. If you go to verse 3,
much.
And he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not. You didn't know about this kind of food, bro.
Right.
Neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of the Lord doth man live by. That's poetic right there.
That's so poetic.
Man does not live by bread alone. There's a story in the New Testament. I love this story where at the end of 40 days, when Jesus Christ finished fasting, he had the encounter with the devil. The devil took him and he launched him up into a spiritual mountaintop. And he asked him, he tempted him, he tempted him. He's like, I believe it was, jump off the cliff, the God of Israel, his angel will come get you. Something along the lines of that. And then he's like, don't you know that man does not live by bread alone? You get me? So going back and seeing...
Direct quoter. He's a direct quoter. He direct quotes the Lord.
Hold on. I'm not sure that's a direct quote. Like, again, I have to add my own little flavor and seasoning there. But if you go back to the scripture, you can read it. We'll touch on that another day. But the point is, we're seeing it here in the New Testament, number one, So that does show you the New and Old Testament. There's nothing new.
There's nothing new.
Well, what's that quote you like to say?
There's nothing new under the sun, nothing older than the moon.
100%.
And Jesus even said it himself. He didn't come to destroy the law, but he came to fulfill it. Right? What does it mean to fulfill something?
Get it done.
Get it done.
To get it done.
You
Just
understand?
do it, man. Nike.
You understand?
Nah. We have to cut that out.
And I think another... Go ahead.
But it speaks to that. It definitely does speak to that. But you want to say something?
Another interesting point too, in talking to, because we touched on the humble thee and to prove thee, and in verse 3 it talks about, and he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger. Like that's the process of humility, and you gotta look at like the processes of things, because I think that says a lot about, we're talking about the blueprint, that says a lot about the blueprint to success, the blueprint to failure, the blueprint to humility is like, and suffer thee to hunger, like suffering is like a part of humility. And I was speaking with someone not too long. I'm always speaking with somebody, but I had a conversation. I know, right? And I had a conversation about, like, if I was to be transparent, like the closest that I've ever been, that I felt like I've ever been to the God of Israel, has always been in times of like tribulation, and like, cause it's like the God of Israel is. I was about to say he's a funny guy, but the God of Israel...
He has humor, man.
I believe, yes, 100%. Like, he'll put you in a situation, and to humble you, he'll put you in a situation where you have no other choice but to turn back to him. Like, no other choice but to turn back to the Lord and to realize, all right, boom, you got to understand where your power is coming from.
Sorry, it's so funny. It's so funny because that situation describes something I saw on the internet. Because sometimes, in the book, in the manual, it describes the relationship between the God of Israel and his people as a husband and a wife, right?
Yes.
And then sometimes on Instagram, you can see a video where when a man's wife doesn't really want to deal with him, the guy will go around in the house and starts breaking things around, He'll start unscrewing the light bulb, unplugging the dryer, remove the batteries at the remote, tighten the jars up. And then when the wife goes in to do, regular day duties, she can't open up the jar, so he has to call her husband. She can't find the remote is not working, so he called the husband. All right, cool. Puts the batteries in the remote. The TV ain't working, but because he secretly unplugged it, so he just goes back and plugs it back in. And that really is what you described.
Yeah, that's actually a perfect analogy.
It's like, because she's all good, you're all good. There's nothing to worry about. I'm like, all right, you think you're good without me, huh?
Yeah.
All right, just watch. Go about your day then.
That's funny.
Boom. The TV remote was not working anymore. And you get to call your husband. But yeah, that's just what it reminds me of when I just hear you speak. That.
Yeah, like humility is
God has a humor, man.
He does have he for sure 100% does. And the process again the process that he uses to humble his children has always been the same. It's the same for all of us. When we think about like learning and our development, I'm looking at like my daughter Zabai has made me realize a lot of things about children, because as a father you have to be very intentional with what you do, because the children are watching, even if you don't think that they're watching, and their perception is like a child's, like everything is like inflated, everything is like exaggerated because they're a kid and it's like this is the first time this is happening. But for you it could be like any other day, like I've been here, but to them, like you have to be intentional with what you're doing, because it's what you do is very impactful. The example that you set is very impactful. And
it's funny that you say that, because like in my memory, like one of the most delicious foods I can ever taste was Kraft Dinner macaroni and cheese.
Oh yeah?
It was just so, the way it tasted to me as a young child was so rich and delicious. But then as I got older and I started eating it more, it wasn't the same feeling. I don't get that same feeling anymore. Nah, not at all. But just to give you like one example, I don't know why Kraft Dinner comes to my mind, but the experience of it just.
But he's speaking on childhoods and just like even that memory too. I'm thinking of like even growing up, even to my same,
delicious,
even right. Yo, this guy, are you hungry, man? Well, okay, it's funny because we're actually fasting, so it's like I know you are hungry. But even going again to the processes of humility, and you look at children, right? And you look how children learn, and normally it's through like pain. Like if you go in and you walk in a certain type of way, like if I'm a kid and I'm playing at the jungle gym and it was raining like 30 minutes ago and I'm climbing and I slip on a joint, it's just like I hurt myself. It's just like it's just like I'll remember that lesson because of that pain. And then now when I'm climbing the jungle gym, I'm gonna make sure that my foot is on it a certain type of way. Okay, I had it that type of way. I need more grip. I need more landing in order for me to climb it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then you learn, and it's like that's. In anything in life that's how we learn. Like ironically, is like through pain and suffering. You either learn the hard way or the harder way.
I like it. The hard way, way. But there's nothing that instills discipline like pain, and that was like one of the themes in military school that I remember, because it's the pain that teaches the lesson. The pain you feel today is the strength you will feel tomorrow. And I put that in there because, again, it's the 40 years, it's a new year, and we've all been through pain. I've been through pain, you've been through pain. Chris, I'm sure those who are out there that are watching this, you've also feel pain. But every time we're able to overcome that pain, every time we have a situation where we're faced with a problem or a challenge and we overcome that challenge, we go into the world with a new light. It's the strength we feel tomorrow because we know that we're capable of more. We're not just limited to the perceived circumstances that we're currently in. Because right when you go through it, and you make it on the other side, you get stronger. It's like that song, what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. It really is, that's the case. Every single time you exercise your faith, you really needed help, you reached out to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and he verifies that your belief in your faith and all these things. Yes. You have things to stand on now. You're just leveling up every single time, every battle you fight. Level up, level up, level up. Before you know it, your faith is untouchable. You get me? It's like going to the gym. Every single time you're consistent on your sets and you're putting in the exercise, you're doing it properly, you start to build muscle. And the muscle isn't revealed until you go to the kitchen and start eating properly. You're on a proper diet, a spiritual diet, more or less.
Right.
So
because man can't live off bread alone.
Because man can't live off bread alone. 100 beautiful touch. So you put these two things together, and what do you get? What do you get?
You tell me.
Chiseled out faith.
Chiseled out faith.
Chiseled out faith, man.
And it's like the faith really can't get stronger without the suffering. Like if everything was good and dandy, how do you think that faith how's that faith gonna wax strong?
That's what I say. The pain you feel today is the strength you feel tomorrow. That's why we have to reflect on these things. It's very important that we reflect and understand what we've been through in our lives and where we're going to into the future, because at this point you're respecting the past, or you're honoring your what is it? Oh, there's another quote. I forgot what it is, but I'll remember it. But Chris, take it away.
You're honoring the tradition, and you're honoring the tradition by respecting the process and respecting these principles that the God of Israel put in place. I look at everything as a gift. I look at the spirit of understanding as a gift. I look at the spirit of truth as a gift, the spirit of wisdom as a gift. Nothing comes from myself. Like everything, like you ever had like an aha moment, like, oh, I got it. Like
it wasn't really you though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't like, it's like, it literally feels like instantaneous.
Yeah.
Like someone went and gifted you that realization and that, oh, like you didn't, right?
That's what it was. Honor the past, but challenge the future. And when we reflect on those things, you're honoring it. You know, you're respecting what you went through, your trials and tribulations. You know the mistakes that you made, but then now you're challenging yourself for the future. What am I going to do better? You know, how am I going to improve? What's the new blueprint now when I go back into the gym? How I'm going to conduct myself in these new situations? You know, life is a very dynamic experience. Nothing is always set in stone. Like, things are always changing. How do you adapt to it and actually approach it in a viable and sustainable way? Mm-hmm. Again, this is the blueprint. We're reading it here right now. What does the next verse say? Verse 4, thy raiment wax not old upon thee, neither did thy foot swell these 40 years. So even in the time when we're going through these things, he still got you, man. He still got you. You didn't swell. You know, you didn't break up your feet and felt pain. In military school, one of the badges that we earned is called the fall exercise.
The fall exercise?
The fall exercise. Okay. It's called the fall exercise because it's an expedition that happens in fall season, in the season of fall, where it's a 3-day march, 95 kilometers, I believe. You're walking through the whole entire Niagara escarpment. It's a challenging walk because you're carrying a 60-pound like rucksack with food and water and all these things, and you're going through all these hills and valleys and long roads, beautiful nature trails. But either way, when you walk for long periods of time, it gets hard. It's very hard. Mm-hmm. And the first day is like 28 kilometers. The second day is 36 kilometers, and I forgot how long the third day is. But like, you know, these are some long distances. Mm-hmm. And after each day, when we get back to our barracks, you're looking at the blisters on our feet, the chafing in between the legs, the peeling of the skin on the shoulders because of the rucksack was so heavy, the lack of water and food. It's like, it's brutal. It's very brutal to walk long distances. This is only for 3 days. Mm-hmm. So how do you think they were doing for 40 years? You get me? And it says in verse 4, thy raiment waxed not old upon thy feet, neither did their foot swell. That's amazing in my eyes. That really is amazing in my eyes because, you know, after doing a 3-day walk and suffering all of that, and they're out here for 40 years, that's nothing happened to them.
That's something. I mean, I think it speaks to something a lot deeper. You know, even when I recall the story of us coming out of the Red Sea, and it said that there was not one feeble amongst you. Mm-hmm. Like, not one feeble was amongst you. And it's like, how? How is that possible? When there was everybody there. There's old ladies there, there's kids there, there was people who, you understand? Like,
it's a mixed multitude.
A mixed multitude, and not one?
That must be the power of God.
That's the thing with the God of Israel. He makes it so it's undeniable.
Undeniable. I like that.
Undeniable.
And you know what? I like that because being undeniable is like, you put in the work and efforts where you can't be denied anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, when you put your faith on trial and you go through all these experiences, who can deny you afterwards? Because you have the stripes already. You know, mm-hmm. you've done the battles and you won many wars. Who can deny you?
Right.
You get me? Right. I like it. Again.
You went through the refinement process, and 100%. You think about the 40 years. Like, we've been through the wilderness for 40 years. Now it's like, all right. Now we were able to take the level, like think about it.
Who can deny you?
Not even that who could deny you, but like, you went through the fire, like you were tried like silver and gold. Like, if you think about, every time I think of 40 years, that's what I think about, tried like silver and gold. It's like that heat that pressure has to be on you in order to strengthen you, like literally. Even if you look at certain materials that they make that are made out of strong steel, like it's loose steel at first. It's loose powder, and they confine it and they press it down and heat it up in order for it to strengthen, right? And it's like you went through that, so you went through that same refinement process, and it's brought you here to this point to where
your faith is chiseled.
Your faith is chiseled, man. And it's like there's so much to testify to. There's so much to testify. And it's an amazing story. And it's like, now that you went through that process, now it's like, all right, now it's like an undeniable, like it has to be undeniable. Now I'm going to bring you through the rivers of Jordan. It's like, it's undeniable in the Red Sea. And then I brought you through the 40 years, that refinement process. And now the faith waxed strong. All right, boom. And that's it. I'm reading the story of Joshua. And I remember when the God of Israel, I'm reading the God of Israel saying, all right, now, and he's telling them, he's like, yo, you're going to know, the people are going to know that the Lord was with Moses and the Lord was with Joshua. Like, they're going to know. Like,
imagine the confidence you have, you know. At this point, it's no longer confidence, it's Godfidence, you know, you get me? It's transcended, it's moved above, you know.
Where you come up with this stuff?
Like, you know, it leveled up. It's a different kind of playing field. It really is. We can be here forever.
Honestly,
but
truly.
we get to verse 5. Thou shalt also consider in thine heart that as a man chastiseth his son, so the Lord thy God chastiseth thee. If you go to Amos 3, and the first 2 verses, it says, you of all the families of the earth have I known, and because of that, Israel, you will I punish. Boom. And so it's verified again in Deuteronomy. Malachi comes a little bit ahead, a little bit later on. But it tells you, you're the only family that I know. You're all that I know throughout the earth. And because I care about you, because I'm actually considering you, because what you do actually hurts me, I have to discipline you. In today's world, you know, there's always a challenging conversation about discipline. You know, Chris? Like chastising your child or correcting them. But you have to understand, psychologically speaking, it serves its purpose. There's a reason for everything. There's a season for everything too.
Facts.
But discipline has its purpose. It teaches us not to avoid certain behaviors, you know. If you want to correct, if you want to teach someone to avoid a behavior, you would discipline them, you would punish them, etc. If you want to encourage a behavior, you would reinforce it, you would reward them. You know, it's basic psychology.
Basic.
And it's exercised here in the scriptures. You see, it's in the blueprint, you know. Because he cares about you, then he's gonna, you know, you're the only family that he chastises, so that you can actually learn from your mistakes and work not in the way of iniquity.
Right? Because like, there's no better way for you to learn, honestly. And even reading this always makes me look at the dynamic and the relation between me and my own child, and the intention that I have with certain interactions that I have with her. And it's like when you read in, when it talks about, what is that, verse 5? Also consider in thine heart that as a man chastiseth his son, so the Lord thy God chastiseth thee. So as a man chastiseth his son, right? It's that same dynamic, right?
Yeah.
And I look and it's like, when I chastise my child, it's not because I want to have my way, or I want to be the boss, or I want her to do what I say. It's like, I'm thinking of my own begotten child. Like, this child is a representation of me. And there's going to be a point where this child gets older, and that child's going to go out into the world. And that child is going to be a representation of how good of a parent was I. You understand? So it's like, it's kind of, it's selfish, but it's just like, yo, you don't go out there and make me look bad. You understand? Like, you need to have, you need to have good manners. Like, people need to, and like, even going into the psychology of it, like, if my child has good manners, I think of a child that has good manners, I want to give that child anything. I'll give that child everything. It's just like, wow, this child has
manners maketh man.
Manners maketh man. And it's like, you got to look at the intention of the God of Israel. You read in the prophecy, and it reads about you're going to be the head and you're not the tail. Like, the God of Israel is going to take a man from the dunghill and put him amongst princes. What exactly is your role? Right? And there's a reason why he's chastising this child. It's like, when I send you out into the world, and for you to be like a royal priesthood unto the rest of the world, like, what does that look like?
I like that. How are you going to respond? And it goes back to who you're representing. Like, your father instills discipline into you, and now you're going to be a representative of your household. That means anything that you do will be considered not just for you as yourself as an individual, but you're representing the whole house. That is why we are a royal priesthood unto the world, you know? Think about the manner of someone that's royalty. It's respectful. They move with elegance. They know how to structure their sentences and words. They speak well. They consider things. They have manners.
Right.
And again, it's a reflection of the household that you hail from. And all the things that you said as a father and a son, or a father and a daughter, or a mother and a daughter, etc., that dynamic, how they respond to the world is a reflection, again, to where it's coming from. And I like the analogy that you placed, the analogy that you put together, because at the end of the day, considering all the things that we spoke about, the 40 years, trials and tribulations, the pain you feel today, the strength you feel tomorrow, all these things that we put together, it can be summed up via a quote. A quote that comes to mind is, a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. You get what I'm saying?
You got all the quotes, man. You got all the quotes today, man. All right.
And it really does speak to that, because it's like, when you go through that refinement process that Chris mentioned, and you face the battles, you fight each and every battle. Some battles you may not win, but you win the majority of your battles. Eventually you're going to win the war. You get me? And all that refinement, all that processing, all those hits each and every day, each and every night. At the end of it all, it just formulates a beautiful gem. Polished, perfected, all those trials and tribulations was just a statement. It was a testimony.
Right.
Of the God that you serve, even the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob.
I think that was well put, man. You got any closing remarks? I mean, that was the closing remarks. Man, we should just cut it out from that, because I feel like, if I was to say anything, man, before we even end it off, because I don't want to take too much of you guys' time. Time is very valuable. You can't get that back.
Yeah.
But it's good that, we're leading you on a path of righteousness and not destruction. And we're trying to, leave you better than how we found you and give you some game. But when I think of, to sum it all up, when we think about the season, you think about the Passover season, the recollection of that story, and realizing that that's a testament and not just a tradition that we're doing. Like, we're trying to this is the season of life. We're trying to revive the culture. We're trying to revive that spirit of life and that spirit of
truth.
That spirit of truth and that spirit of fire. We went through so much in the wilderness, and we look and we see the parallels between our own 40 years and the 40 years that our forefathers went through. And we see a lot of similarities.
We have to remember it. We cannot forget.
We cannot forget. And that's a very much important part. And we are very forgetful people. And I tell everybody, I don't separate myself from the people in the book, because when I read it, I see us in the book, and I see how stiff-necked we are. And I see it. And it's not about, you got to understand what it is and what it's not. And when you look at things holistically, and you're looking at the next 40 years, and you're understanding this season and why am I even coming to the altar right now? Like, what type of spirit should I be entertaining while I'm on this journey? Like, how do I prepare for the Passover?
Yeah.
How do I prepare for this time of the year? And then how do I also prepare for the next 40 years so that I can be as impactful as the last 40? Like, if I was to give you a spreadsheet list of all the things that the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries has brought to the world, as far as culture, as far as knowledge and understanding, there's nobody.
We'll probably be here forever.
We'll be here forever, honestly and truly.
If you can take one thing to go away to this new year, because we do have to end this. Proverbs 3, Proverbs 3, verse 16. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and your thoughts shall be established. That's the secret. When you no longer want to serve yourself, but you're in the servitude of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you get all your answers, man. That's the secret. I won't hold anything else from you. Just remember that, commit thy works unto the Lord, and your thoughts shall be established. Thank you all for joining us here today. I really do appreciate, just to be here, just have a conversation with Teacher Chris, and break down some doctrine. I'm excited to go into the new year. Chris, I can definitely tell you're excited, man. You're about to blow up like a firework.
Honestly and truly. There's so much that I've been taken away from this year. So many gems that's been dropping. And 100%. It's just like, oh, man, I'm picking them all up, man. I'm picking them all up.
But yeah, stay tuned. We got more stuff coming. And until we see you the next time, please leave your comments, questions, concerns, aspirations in the chat. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.
Peace.
This is the 40-year celebration of the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries.